Year 10 and welcome to Python programming. This is going to be an introduction to how we are going to be looking at the Python unit, what you guys are going to be looking at, and how I'm going to expect you to work this. Now, this is going to last us until the end of term. It may push into next term a little bit, but I don't really expect it to. But there is a lot of logic we have to cover here. So we may well get into next term if we need to. Now, there are two different ways that you can do this unit. If you are doing this from home, if you're not coming back to school, it is the 19th of May, and this morning the Premier has announced that everybody is to be back to school from next week. So I'm preparing these nonetheless in case you are working from home. You will have a copy of this booklet, which you can work your way through. And these videos, which I'm preparing today, are there to help you to understand the language in detail. This booklet is one that I've made up. I've made it myself, and it's about how we use the Python programming language. Now, Python is a powerful language. It's what's known as an object-oriented language, which means we can segment or break things down into smaller parts, but it's an extremely powerful language. It's a relatively new language. It's only been out for about 8 years. And it is a programming language that allows us to do a lot of things. And as I say, you can even program apps, website functions, programs for Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can do a lot of stuff with this language that you can't do with others. There are one or two limitations on it. It's not a perfect language, but then nothing is. It's built for its times. So we're going to step through at a reasonable pace, but these notes are here so that you can get an understanding of where we're up to. Now, in order to understand how to use this language, we're going to use what's known as the Reple.it environment, or Reple. This is the Reple website, and this is a website that is designed for people like yourselves who want to learn coding languages and want to understand them, but may not necessarily have access to the extremely advanced functions of a studio environment. At school, we have Visual Studio, and Visual Studio has Python sections to it. For those of you who are coming back to school, as you may know, some of the computer rooms are being renovated at the moment, so I don't know how much access we're going to have to those, but I am going to give you access to this because it's going to be easier for us. So the first thing you'll have to do is go to reple.it and set yourselves up with a new account. Now, this is a free website. You just go to the sign up page here, and when you put in your DET username like I've got in here, you will be able to sign in using a student account, and I'll be able to have access to see and help you guys out. Now, I'm just going to log in because I've obviously already got a user account, but you just go through this little rigmarole and then sign in, and also you'll need to put your you'll have to open your emails and authenticate the usual way when you sign up for any new website. When we get into this section, this is the dashboard. You will see up the top here you can create a REPL. Now, the thing is that REPL, as you can see, has a tremendous number of languages that you can use. C++, Java, C, native C, and Python are probably the ones that are the most heavily used. We will be using this for Python. I've been given some notes for Arduino or C# programming the end of the year if we get there, so we might even use that. So to create a new REPL from home, we just go to create a REPL here, and we click on Python, and a new REPL will be created for us. Now, in this, when we have this REPL here, at the moment, this is called Jumpy Glamorous Beta version. To change this, you simply click in here, and you can type whatever you want this to be. Now, the advantage of REPL is that you can actually send these connections by using this link here to anybody you want, and they can run your program. So if anybody was to type that into a new window, they would actually be able to access my REPL and run the program without being able to edit it. So everything I want here, I can give to my friends, I can give to you guys, and you guys can test it without actually having access to it. Without having access to edit it, I should say. Now, in this environment, this is our main Python file. This is where we will access our information. This is where we will do all of our typing. And the REPL has a built-in library of Python notes and Python functions that it will know if we're doing the right thing or not, if we need to change things. You can see some examples here so that you can actually test a few things. If you want to go ahead and explore and experiment with a couple of those, that's fine. As for the Python environment, and I'll just use this factorial one as an example, one thing we need to remember is that Python is a language where the actual spacing of things is very, very important. This spacing here, one press of the tab key, that's the one below the number 1 and to the left of Q on the keyboard, puts this indent in. These indents are absolutely important because it shows the system where things are up to. Now, I'll explain this in the notes and we will come back to this, but I want to make this abundantly clear at the beginning. These tabs are how things are split up. This is not like other languages. We should have done VBA first, but if you've done any programming where you use curly brackets or round brackets to split things up, the tabs and the indents in Python is that. So you absolutely must get used to using those because this is how Python works. If you don't, if you simply have if you don't have a tab in here, for example, then you will get errors because this else will never be able to run and so on and so forth. So you will have to get used to using those. Now, when we want to test something, we have a little program here. We just click the run button up the top and it will run and do its numbers in here. So this one is just running the factorials, all of the numbers between such and such and such, between the number passed in and 0, and it'll multiply all the numbers up to there. So if I put in the number 152 and run it, it will give me the factorial of 152, which is a very, very large number. That is how the program works. So to test anything, you click that run button. And if we have some sort of an error in our code and we hit the run button, our errors are shown there. So in this case, you can see it says traceback, which is the most recent call, in the main.python file, which is this one here. Line number 8 has some sort of an error because line number 8 is the program being called first, and it says factorial, and it shows you what the error is. So over here is where we will see what the problems are. So if I put that back in, that R back in where I deleted it from, run it again, there we are. Now, in terms of files, we won't get into the using of different things, but if you want to push it out and do more Python yourself at the end of this, you can create more files in here. This is when we get to classes. If you want to split your classes up into its own file structure, you can put them in here. You can get very big programs running in this and test them yourself. This is where you can actually run those sorts of files. From the main home page, when you log in, if you need to get back to your REPL, you simply go here to My REPLs, click on that, and it will give you a list of all the REPLs that you have. I've got quite a few of them, as you can see. The easiest one will be it will usually be the top one here. You have to make sure that they are the right language and that sort of thing, but other than that, you should be fine with this. So that is REPL. Now, REPL is very simple to use. It's an easy way to work with. I'm going to give you two other websites here. One is called CodeCombat.com. Now, CodeCombat is a game website that uses Python to be able to make a little man walk around. You actually perform functions and stuff by doing this here, and you don't have to pay for this again. This is designed to be for students. So if you click here and say, I am a student, you can have a class code. We're not going to set one of those up, but instead we're just going to hit play, and it will log us into our little function. Now, this is CodeCombat. We have the starting Kithard dungeon, and there are 42 different stages or levels here for us to start off with. We will work our way around here. Starting off in the Kithard dungeon, we are going to pick a character, and I'm just going to randomly choose this dude, Aaron Stonewall, and we're not going to subscribe. Sorry. Okay. And in here now, if you do want to, you can look at JavaScript and CoffeeScript if you really want to. They are not the same as Python. Python is much more powerful, and it's the one we want to use. So we're going to start off with Python. Now, it sets you up with a few charactery things, as you can see, and then we get into here. Now, the goals are pretty well clearly defined. We've got to avoid the spikes and collect the gems, and this will show you step by step how to do the functions. So you can see from where our character is here, there are spikes on 3 sides of her. There are spikes on these walls. So as we go down here, we have to be careful of these spikes. So as we say, we'll start the level, and it gives us the functions to run with Python. So it says here we've got to grab that treasure, and we use these methods to make us work. So as we continue, as you can see, it says hero move right. Now we need to choose what we want our hero to do. So the first thing we're going to have to do is make our hero move to the left. So we type that in here. And as you can see, there is a drop-down menu that allows you a little bit easier use. And when we click run, it starts from the beginning. And now that didn't work because our hero isn't supposed to run to the left. Our hero is supposed to move down. So we want that to be hero move down. Note the capital letters, which is something very, very important. Capital letters are absolutely important for Python, because if we don't use them properly, we will get errors. I think I can set up an error here. Yep, so it says, look out for your capitalization. It shows you what the problem is. So if we go back to move down and make that a capital and run this, we now move from there, and then we come down here. So now you can see how it's stepping you out bits by bits. Right, this is where, and there are hints and such. So now we know that we need to move right again in order to just finish this little level off. We move down, we move right, we collect the gem. I've won the level. That's how CodeCombat works. That is Python script. That is using a Python command. That's how Python works. And this will show you how to do a lot of these sorts of Python things. It's a good system to give you some experimentation, to allow you access to Python and to give you an introduction. The other system I'm going to give you, which I've given you before, is the W3 Schools website. W3 Schools is an international education group that put together websites on all sorts of programming languages. So if you want to do some experimentation for yourself, you can do that through W3 Schools. Python here is a strong language, and there is a lot of information here on how Pythons work. So when I talk about tuples and dictionaries and those sorts of things, you can go in here and get some more information, find some more function sets rather than just what I give you in the notes. I would suggest you spend a lot of time on this website because it will show you things, and also it has these little try it yourself buttons, so you can edit these bits and pieces. You know, you can add in here and things, and you can run and see what happens when you change a thing, when you add something, and how you modify it. It will show you the same thing. It's a similar sort of thing to the Reple. It's just going the other way and building it into the individual functions of this stuff. So that's what I'll give you the introduction for. This is an introduction to Python. Now, in terms of what I will expect of you, first and foremost is I want you to read through these notes. These notes are the important part. These are notes that will show you where you're going to get your information from. Then, and these are broken up for you. So I'm just going over to the Google Classroom here so that you can have some access to that. I only have 3 classrooms at the moment that I'm managing because my MT classes have been closed down because you can't really teach students that sort of thing over the internet. So if I go into your Year 10 IS class, over here in your classwork section, you will see that there are Python information and then Python activities. So after this one, this first Python part, there aren't any activities to run with. But when you've done the second bit, which is variables, which is the video I'll record in a few minutes, you then can go up here into your exercise and you can create, you can do what it says in the exercise. So, you know, when you create these bits and pieces, you can go to the view assignment and you can turn them in here yourselves. Now, I have set due dates for these. So the first due date for this one is the 31st of May, which is a week from, well, it's a week and a half from now. So you've got a week and a half to start getting these done. The last one is due on the 5th of July, which is the week we break up. So these are due until the end of term. This is pretty well paced. I'm not unhappy with this pacing. I like how this is done. I am expecting you all to be working at this pace and having these done in this order. If you want to take it slowly, now I have given you access to everything. To take it a little bit slowly, this is where all these notes are. So this one big booklet, if you are getting this from home, this is one massive booklet that you will receive. If you are using it from school, these booklets are broken up into smaller and smaller segments, which are what is published here. So that right there is what I just showed you. Everyone has access to the same information. There's no favoritism or anything like that. So you've got it all there in front of you. That's pretty much everything I can think. There are 8 sections to this booklet. because I included the final exercises in there. There are 7 sections of exercises. Python is a very powerful programming language. If you have any problems, please post up on the Google Forums, because it's very likely that somebody else will be having a similar issue. If you do not feel comfortable doing that, or as always, send me an email. I look forward to seeing you back at school. And as always, thank you for watching.